Hi, Credit Union friends. This episode closes out season two. Deliana Gamez, my new partner, and I are switching things up and handing the interview reins over to Robbie Young, VP of Strategic Growth at CU Insight. It feels like the perfect way to walk into 2026. So, we're going to have a fun episode today. So, Robbie, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, thank you both so much for inviting me. I'm very excited for the conversation. Julie, I have known you for nearly 10 years now, since I've been at CU Insight for almost 10 years. And Daliana, I got to meet you today, which is great, but I'm super excited for you and all your work that you're going to do with Julie. Just to get us started, what moment made you all realize that your values and visions were aligned enough to build something together?
Deliana, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start.
Great.
I've known Julie for so long. I think from the moment I met Julie, I know our visions and values were aligned. I think it was the timing. It took years of for myself gathering more experience, Julie growing her business, and I would say in the last few years, the timing was just starting to feel right where I took a leap into starting consulting. Julie was at a point where she was ready to expand her business, and I think everything happened for a reason the way that it did. And 2025 ended up being that year that everything, all the stars aligned for both of us.
Yes, yeah. I feel like we're the 10-year club, right? We've all
Yeah.
I've known Deliana, it was 10 years ago that we met. And
Mhm.
it was moment by moment, I think. And I've just always respected the work that she's done. And we just kept talking. And I think for me, as I think about this, the lessons and what's bubbling up for me is that really pour into each other, like pour into relationships, be intentional because you don't know where they might lead. And I feel like sometimes we have that point of connection and then we go off on our own ways and we don't stay intentional about staying in touch. And it doesn't have to be all the time, but be intentional about keeping in touch because magic can happen if you do that.
For sure. And so, if you were to describe partnership in one word, what would that be? And then I would like you to defend your choice a bit. And Julie, we'll let you start first.
Okay. Um, my word is espresso. Because Deliana and I, our very first meeting was at a coffee shop. We have always, every time we're together, we find amazing coffee shops. And Deliana, Robbie also loves espresso and coffee shops. And so when we were in Greenville, the summit was in Greenville, you directed me to your favorite coffee shop. And what was the name of it? I can't remember now.
Methodical.
Yes, yes. And I just feel like right now our partnership is it's buzzing. It's like, it's just going to kick it up a gear. And so that's my choice because we love espresso and coffee
So
shops.
it's
And it just feels like, oh, here we go. We're
so
launching.
it's caffeine fueled and necessary.
Yes, both.
What about you, Deliana?
Gosh, I love Julie's answer because like how cool is that? Because it's so true and like a perfect word. What has come to mind for me is balance. Like we bring this balance to each other where, there's so much I'm going to learn and have learned from Julie. There's things that areas that I've really dove into in the verticals I've gone really deep in. And I think in any relationship and partnership, balance is a beautiful thing. And I think Julie and I bring that together. And I'm excited for people to be able to learn from both of us, as well as how we cultivate relationships and learn from others in the industry. So we bring this really cool balance to business development.
Well, and the exciting thing about balance and caffeine is some days balance looks different. You need more caffeine, which is
And
probably very
also,
true about
Balance
your
is one of the
relationship.
sponsors of our the channel.
That's
That
right.
works out
And
perfect.
we greatly appreciate them.
So
Yes.
let's zoom out a little bit and talk about what the future looks like. What do you think BD is going to look like in 2025 to 2027 even, and what's changing?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Delana.
yeah, of course. I see the 2025 and beyond. We're in a more data-driven space. We have to really restructure what partnership means in the credit union space, whether it's a community partner, a seg partner. less reliance on those physical events and how we get communication access and drive, membership growth, drive loans, drive deposits, and really being able to differentiate ourselves, with not only financial well-being, but what does it really mean to partner and how do we make that look successful? We know the winning formula and we need to teach that to companies and organizations while also gathering their intel, and understanding their needs. But we need to be the leaders in this space. So really using the data that we sit on and driving that conversation and dialogue and creating really good solutions that we know drive back to the credit union.
I love that. Julie, what do you think?
That it's bubbling up everywhere, isn't it? You think about like who's out there redefining business development. Blake Woods at Community Financial in Michigan, he
Mhm.
has the impact team, and they don't really even do table days anymore. They have QR codes and they're making dreams come true and they're engaging on aspirational levels and value levels. And then you have like Jamise Harkley at Harborstone, and
Mhm.
and so that's the exciting part, is that there's momentum in the space and people are open to new ways to do things. And so, we're here to help.
Well, shout out to Jamise and Blake, two besties of mine. So I like that we talked about it. So, what do you think is outdated when it comes to business development and we should totally just leave behind?
Julie, want to go first?
Yeah, I feel like there's actually quite a few things, but I feel like one of the things that I see more and more, like not more and more, but just I continue to see, is that the belief that activity equals impact.
Mhm.
And I think there's a lot of activity, and we kind of gauge our success based on where we're at, how often we're there. And I think we need to slow down and pause and look at the data, look at like where can we really make an impact and go deeper. And that might mean fewer things, fewer sponsorships, fewer partnerships. But I feel like being all things to all people all the time, everywhere, kind of needs to stop.
Yeah, that certainly doesn't work for the balance and intentionality. Works on the caffeine side, maybe, but not worth it, right?
Yes, it does. I'm quite effective at being caffeinated and productive.
So you both have a lot of experience in this space, and I would like to get into a little bit of the stories that you've kind of brought along the way. So give me a win that makes you really feel proud in the work that you do.
Yeah. Well, mine's I go back to like my actually working in a credit union and I was given a dormant company. It was a large Fortune 100. I wanted to reconnect the relationship. It was about a year and some change in the making, but I was able to get them to agree to do a company-wide campaign with the credit union. It's communicated to over 300,000 people in the United States and drove thousands of members back to that organization. And that win is something I will forever be proud of. It was so hard. It was a lot of grit and, resilience. But ultimately, it showed that the granular parts of business development and sales, are effective. And as long as you believe in yourself, believe in what you're selling, you could really make things happen. And no one ever thought it could happen. And I was really excited that I could bring that across the finish line.
Something that makes me proud is the people that and the teams that I brought together when I was doing business development. I think as I move through my career, I think your answer for that question changes, and I feel like if you watch how that changes over time, and I still keep in touch with the team that I had at First Tech. I mean, really regularly. And I feel like that's the magic, is when you can instill in people to continue. Like you have almost like those points of contacts that, and I'm not taking credit for what they're doing now in their work, but we had just a magical team. And I think everybody, when you have that, you know it. And I think
Mhm.
maybe have you guys both had that team where it's like, wow, this is it. This is the bar.
Oh, for sure. And
Yeah.
if, you continue to chase that team until you have it again. You're just like, all right, well, I know this is the secret sauce. I can identify this piece, and you just kind of continue working towards that path until you can mold back into it again. And sometimes that takes longer than other times, but I think that it's also the opportunity for growth there too, to you grow yourself while you're also building that team, and the team shifts in what it looks like. But I
Yes.
think that it's an unintentional great practice to chase those kind of things because you know what was good and you know how to morph that into what you needed.
Yeah. And I haven't been a team since then. So that's why it's kind of
Now you
because now
are.
I'm a team. Like we have that team. Clap around.
So if you could go back and give your younger business development self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Juliana, take it.
Yeah, I would say lean into your authenticity and strengths. Within my career, I've always felt I had to be a certain way or show up a certain way. And I think there's general foundational rules of professionalism, but when I started to lean into who I was and myself versus trying to be what I thought other people or professionals or leaders thought I should be, it changed everything. I mean, I made deeper relationships. I found myself being more successful and not only in work, but my overall happiness. It was liberating. So I say lean into who you are and your authenticity. And when you do that, that's when magic happens. Like that's your superpower is really like be you, tap into what you're good at.
Can I second that? I know it wasn't a question for me, but I want to second that one.
Yeah, tell us, Robbie. We want to hear from you too.
Yes, I would love to
No,
hear
I think that is 100%. Like
that.
I very much leaned more heavily into that this year than I have in years past. And what I found was my, professional relationships as far as clients go and things like that, they still remained very strong, but I deepened my network without having that kind of anxiety that comes along with feeling like you're networking. I wasn't networking anymore because people knew who I really was. I was open, I was sharing, I was being more conversational. I was actually learning people for who they were, and that's definitely, I think, far more powerful and important than being a polished resume that you're hired for because you're an entire human, not just a resume of bright, shiny things.
Yeah. I've seen that happen with you, Robbie. I've watched that happen. Yeah. That's so cool. Well done. Awesome. I think if I'm speaking now to younger professionals, I was a very young business development person. I was a young branch manager, and I did not have a lot of confidence. I was scared to go to the CEO or the vice presidents. I was very comfortable working with the association, the sponsorship director or the benefits person. And I had a harder time for a long time getting yeses or approvals for what I wanted to accomplish with them to collaborate because I wasn't talking with the decision makers. And so my advice would be really think about who are the decision makers and have that confidence to go build relationships with them. So work your way up the ladder.
I like that. So now that you guys have formed the Jay-Z and Beyonce of business development, what can we expect from you all in 2026?
Ah, we're excited. We're building community. We are building resources, community, collaboration, innovation. We have a lot coming. Deliana, what do you think?
Yeah, we want to be the future of credit union BD, the spot to learn, to grow, to build community, to learn from like-minded or different people that are doing the same jobs and just being open out there. Like we want everyone to succeed. So, let's share. There's so much market share out there. There's so much opportunity. And we want to see this industry grow as well as the people that work in it and set them up for success. So really like we really want to be that future spot for credit union BD and we hope a lot of people join us on this journey.
Yeah, we're building, building, building. So like we're taking the summit and
Mhm.
the BD Now channel and we're building a bigger community together. So more on that soon. Who knows? Maybe it'll be out before we release the video. A lot of stuff's happening at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I like it. There's no more slow season anymore. Um,
Yeah.
so on the podcast that I host, the CU Insight Network, we do a little section at the end where we do some rapid fire questions. And I like it because it really allows for the listeners to get to know you all better. Now, the questions are rapid. Your answers don't have to be, but I don't want you to overthink it. Are you ready?
We're ready.
All right. Julie, we'll start with you.
Okay.
Biggest regret or mistake that ended up teaching you something?
I had a contact change, and I'm going to go back a ways because I still now use this lesson. A contact that changed at Microsoft when I had them as a group, and I didn't have a relationship with the new person, and I could not get responses. And so I tried the same outreach over and over and over again. I didn't send an article just saying, "Oh, I thought of you," or "Congratulations on this," or invite them to a event we were sponsoring. I was just very one-dimensional in my outreach, and so that lesson, almost, persistence and stalking, there's a fine line, and so it almost went over. It's like if you were to look at all the emails and voicemails from me, kind of the same thing I said, and so that was a big lesson. So if you have obstacles, pause, be strategic about how you are doing your outreach.
For sure. And there's, especially now, so many different ways to communicate with people and really, especially, with relationships and really changing the way that you're engaging and being authentic. Deliana, what about you?
A lesson that I learned, I fought really hard to get a big global company to let us move our branch with them to their new spot. I was, tasked that by my CEO and senior leadership. I got them to agree. Once we found out what the lease would cost, we couldn't, it was not in our budget. And so it taught me that although you can get a win, it may not always pan out the way that you want it. And that's okay. And sometimes that happens. It did teach me how to be more equipped when dealing with some of those negotiations moving forward. But it also, I can look back at that moment, although I wish it would have went differently and we could have built the branch in their new building. I can still see it glass half full. Not only like how to ask better questions from internal and external perspectives, but again, just taught me not every win is going to be a win, even if you almost bring it there, and that's okay. That's life. And it was a good lesson to learn.
Well, and in retrospect, arguably it was a win since you took so much away from it. So chalk it up as a win now, right? All right, Deliana,
Mhm.
funniest business development horror story that you're willing to share publicly. So like the NDAs have gone, we don't have to worry about anything. We want to know. Give us the tea,
Oh my.
as the kids say.
Oh, I love the tea. I love tea time. People only see the highlight reel in business development because no one posts sad stories, that's not on our
True.
social or LinkedIn. But one time in travel, it was a quick trip in and out, but I stayed at a hotel. I got there really late. And as I was settling into bed, I found out the room was infested with mice and I had to run out of there basically. And it was one of the like most horror, like BD travel stories. Ultimately, I ended up just going to the airport, but it was one of those things where you're like, wow, this is all other duties as a sign, like this just can happen. And yeah, travel is not always as glamorous as it can be as it looks. And it was definitely, I always joke to my family, I'm like, I felt like a mouse on me and I wasn't even on Fear Factor potentially
Oh.
getting $1 million. So that's a credit union business development.
Julie, what about you?
My story is timely for right now, actually, because we're coming into New Year's Eve. I always tried to be a little bit different. Even when I was at First Tech and then into my business, sometimes I'll send a New Year's gift because everyone gets the boxes of chocolates and candies and holidays things. So occasionally I try to do different things. And so early in my consulting career, I was working with a credit union in Boston, and I was so excited. I sent all of my clients because I'm from Oregon, and it's just at the time it was always legal here. I sent sparklers for New Year's. I sent all these little bazookas, like a New Year's package, like with tons of sparklers, like boxes of them. And I sent them to Boston Firefighters Credit Union. And the CEO, Bernie, he retired recently, but he calls me, and it was a very spirited conversation because those are actually illegal in the state of Massachusetts. And not only that, but I sent them to a firefighters credit union. And so it was like, so
That's
really don't send illegal things as holiday gifts.
like I was trying to just be ironic. You thought you could use it as a
Yeah.
teaching moment.
Yeah, yeah.
That's hysterical.
It
So
was a funny conversation in his Boston East Coast accent.
So I have often said myself that I am a really great Robin to somebody's Batman. But there's a lot of people that find out they were born to be Batman. The two of you might be those people. What was your I was born to be an entrepreneur moment?
You know, I would say as a kid, I was very imaginative and always like selling and, creating little stores with friends. But my first real retail job, the CEO of the company flew in to like the town that I'm from in like the Chicagoland area to meet me and ask what I was doing to grow the sales there. And I remember that moment, I had all my regionals and VPs and district managers, and he didn't want to talk to any of them but me. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, how did you grow this store so quickly? And that moment, I was like, wow, like someone who runs this company sees something in me and like this is like comes natural. And I think that was my moment where I was one day, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be my own business owner. I want to be my own boss. And from then on, it was kind of like that was my vision, my tunnel vision. I'm like, how do I get there? How do I keep learning to one day be able to start a business?
Right, right. What about you, Julie?
I love how much I'm learning about you, Deliana, during this time together.
Yeah.
I didn't know some of this. I didn't have that moment. The moment I had was I need to travel the world. And the only way I can do that is to have my own business. I went in and asked for 5 weeks off once, and it was in a row, and it just didn't go well. And so I just thought, okay, well, I need to find a way to do the things in my life that are most meaningful to me and get to look in the mirror and ask for time off and say yes. And so, and I love building things, and I've come to love having my own business. It's been 16 years, and it's been the best decision ever for me.
I love that. So, what is something that no one would guess about you?
Start. Oh, well, I love Formula One.
Oh,
It's really
I would not guess that.
yeah. I'm a huge Carlos Sainz fan. I have family in Spain, so I mean, but I also love him as a driver. But I like actually wake up, my husband and I, we wake up, we watch practice rounds, we watch qualifying. If there's a sprint race, we wake up on race day. So if they're in like, Qatar, we're watching it at midnight. And if they're somewhere in Europe, like Silverstone, we're waking up at 8, 7, 6 a.m. So it is, I love Formula One. I watch every single race, and it is something, yeah, I don't really talk about because it doesn't come up often, but big Formula One fan over here.
It's very cool of you, though. Very like
That is very cool.
secret agent, like cool.
I know.
Yeah, I like it.
And I'm curious, who are there any credit unions that align with Formula One? Or because people are passionate about that.
You would think
Robbie, do
some
you
like
know?
they do that race in Detroit. They do an
Yeah, I
F1
wonder
race
if
in
any credit or
Texas.
serve the Formula One community, or like, is there anyone out there? Huh.
There's three US races. There's Miami, there's Vegas, and Austin. So any credit unions out there that want to be a sponsor potentially, or
You'll work for free, Deliana, right?
I
It
will
is
work
Like
a-
I
for free.
just put me next to the race. Yeah, I my F1 knowledge is from the TikToks I see, and then I very much am like, yes, I like this, and that's the attention span I have for.
Oh.
What about you,
Um,
Julie?
I think the people closest to me know this, but I think a lot of people like if I'm meeting them, they're surprised. I just love adventure, and I travel with my best friend every year in different parts of the world, and we'll hire two guys with like guides with motorcycles, and we hopped on the back and traveled around Vietnam for a week, or you know, hike through the jungle in Vietnam, go up into the mountains and in Norway through the fjords. And so I think my sense of adventure kind of surprises people sometimes.
Maybe I know you just well
Casual.
enough that that's not surprising to me. So when we think about who inspires you either inside the industry or outside the industry, or you can give me both.
I'll start. My husband comes to mind. He grew up modest means and got a scholarship to Villanova, got hired into Price Waterhouse. From there, got hired as into Nike as the CFO. And he just has grit. And when he's very humble and but once he starts talking about it, you see, his persistence and the grit and how much work he really poured into his education, making sure that his dreams could come true. And I think people like that really inspire me because they have a sight and they have a goal and they really aren't afraid to roll their sleeves up and do all the hard work to get them there.
Mhm.
I love that. I would say mine's similar. It's my family, my parents, my brothers, my husband. They're my biggest inspiration, my motivators. My parents both came to America with nothing and, really set myself and my siblings up for success and to be able to make our own path. And my husband is such a hard worker and he's also in sales and growth. So we really like bounce ideas off of each other and it just keeps me motivated and hungry. And although, I have this food or famine mentality, it just gets elevated when I'm around them because I just want to continue to do more. So my family.
Yeah, that's an interesting conversation because I wonder, I've been with my husband for a very long time and we also communicate about business and ideas and things like that.
Mhm.
And I wonder if that's a common thing in people's relationships. I don't hear a lot of my friends talk about it. But my husband and I very much have a very healthy conversation about what he has going on or what we're driving towards, both on a personal and a professional level, which I think is interesting. And I wonder if a lot of people talk about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think probably it's important to some and not maybe others, but you spend so much of your time working that it is nice to be able to have conversations, problem solve, talk about different things,
Yeah.
vent a little bit if you have to.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah, for sure.
the relationship between a marriage too, you can kind of be real with each other of like, maybe that's not the best idea, or like the soundboard of it. There's
Mhm.
not there's no fear of like just being totally blunt. And I think that
Right.
helps me. Sometimes I need to be grounded, sometimes I need to be pushed. And I think we do that with each other, which is really awesome in a professional aspect as well as that personal aspect as well.
Okay.
Happy.
So my last, most pressing question, your business development playlist. What gets you absolutely hyped when it comes to the big day?
Deliana, go.
Okay. Mine
We
is
we listened to music together. We had a convertible in Maine. We took a day before the
Oh,
summit, and they gave us a Mustang convertible.
joke's on them.
we
We
had
were
too much
cruising
fun.
down the coast. I mean, yeah, the group was lucky we came back because we were like wind in our hair. It just happened to be a nice October day.
Yeah. Uh, like music, I love music, big music person. I listen to every genre, but I would say to get me hyped up, Bad Bunny, either Calladita, Titi Me Pregunto, those are like my favorite. I'll always put on some Bad Bunny if I'm about to do a speaking engagement or, get ready to do a workshop with a credit union. Like that's the song I'm playing while I'm doing my makeup and getting ready in the hotel and about to start. So anything Bad Bunny.
So the Super Bowl would be a big one for you.
Oh yeah, what is the super? Isn't it the Bad Bunny
Yeah, I
concert?
think it's just a Bad Bunny concert for
Yeah.
sure. That's what my kids think it is anyway. So
Oh, that's
we're
great.
good.
Well, mine is also going to be at the Super Bowl. Brandy Carlisle.
There you
Anything Brandy
go.
Carlisle. Honestly, I will just, if I'm sad, happy, anything, if I just dance around, if I need to get hyped up to anything Brandy Carlisle, I follow her. I followed her through Europe last summer. I'm a super fan. And she's singing a song. She's not main stage at the Super Bowl, but she's doing America the Beautiful, I think. So
I like it.
everybody
I
will
like
get
it.
to hear her sing that. And she has a stunning voice. She'll do a great job.
You guys can put
What
on like
about
an
you,
end of the
Robbie? We need to
year.
hear yours.
I love Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi
Yes.
B. Give me some Big X the Plug, Mexican OT. I might not be good at singing all of it, but I'm vibing.
Yes, Robbie, yes. My
Oh,
music.
we needed to have you in Maine with us. We did karaoke one night.
Oh, I can't sing, but I'll play a backup dancer all day.
Robbie,
Okay.
none of us can sing, but we all went up there
Yeah, really.
anyway. We're the alley cats.
We are. We are. Oh, well, thank you for joining us, Robbie, and asking us the questions. This was a fun conversation. Super excited to stay in touch with you as always. And great job with all the work at CU Insight. we love following along on your journey too, that's developed and evolved. I'd like to shout out to Janine Daly at Balance. Ronaldo Hardy is the new CEO, newer CEO. Maybe it's been a year. I don't know. Do we know
I
how
think
long
it's been a
he's been
year
there?
now.
Yeah, so they're doing some cool stuff over there. And also Alex Robinson, who does all of the video edits for us at Giraffe Creative. Kelly Parks is super supportive of the channel. So this takes a team to make it happen. And all of the guests throughout this year, it's been a real learning journey for all of us in the community.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. And thanks, Deliana. Let's do great things together.